It's Sophia with Kamikaze Kiwi, and with me is Booth Babe and Ninja Tony.
We're back!
And we're, right? We were on a bit of a hiatus, mostly because there weren't any movies that we really wanted to review. I did have a couple people ask me why we didn't review Star Wars, and that's because, I don't care. There you go.
Also, it was just fine.
We did see it, though. Now, normally I have some sort of clever intro, or I at least pretend like I'm clever. I try to do something poignant or funny or make a gag on the movie, but this time I don't have any of that. I really like this movie. I really like the point that Black Panther... Did I say we're reviewing Black Panther? It's a spoil-free review for Black Panther. I really like this movie. I really like what it had to say, and it is so important that I feel like it would actually be a slight discredit to goof too much.
I came up with a little bit from Forrest Gump.
A little bit? Do you need to...
No.
Okay. But the biggest thing is that I try very hard to keep these balanced as far as pros and cons. And I'm not going to be able to do that this time. I am very biased. And whenever we talk about the movie, you'll find out kind of partially why, but also, I'm going to tell you right now, it's just an excellent movie, and it's definitely a movie that I think everyone needs to see. But we're going to do this in my favorite form, pros and cons, and we'll just see how that list goes. All right, we'll start with the pros. This movie is beautiful. The cultural aspect of Africa, African tribes, the different, even like obviously Africa is huge and there's so many different aspects of it, and they did such a great job of bringing that life, that beauty, that culture, those traditions. It's beautiful. It's, in my opinion, it is the prettiest Marvel movie to date.
Well, it's not just in Africa, there's also other locations which are very cool. And it's kind of like this, in the beginning, there's like kind of this James Bondy kind of a thing going on, which is very exciting and very fun. But also, I thought it was very nice because it was a story of not vigilantes, but a story of kingdoms and how you run a kingdom, which was nice because it's like Civil War is kind of, it's like, oh, should we help people? I don't know. They don't belong to our country. But then I feel like Black Panther, like, Wakanda is very, in the story, they're very, what do you call that? Isolated?
Yeah.
So they're very isolated, and it's kind of like, maybe they will stop being isolated, or maybe they won't. It's kind of like, that's part of the poignant dialogue that they're having. And what do you call that? The allegory-ish of, like, should we get involved with people, or should we not be involved with people, that the movie wants you to think about with, essentially, America. Okay, let's all be honest here. It's about America. Yeah. I know it's like, it's all a thinly veiled satire, or not satire, but thinly veiled, what do you call that? I'm not a good critic.
Commentary. You are. You're just not good with words right now.
I'm
it's also very
bad
late.
Critic. But yeah, it's all thinly veiled commentary. It's like, we're definitely Wakanda, but should we get involved? Is it okay for us to just do whatever we want to do?
That's not the only way that it's commentary.
And there's other things too, but yeah.
But we'll get to the other things. And speaking of it not being just, it's not a superhero movie the way that the other Marvel movies are superheroes. This is not somebody who suddenly got powers. This is not a super soldier. This is not a super intelligent person who's just had privilege their whole lives. This is not it's not even really like the aspect of moral or ethical as much as it is a story about this kingdom's empires, but legacy. What is it that maybe happened before that brought you to where you are now, brought you to this point, and where do you need to go from there? And that to me is beautifully fresh for a superhero movie. Don't get me wrong, like there's people in it. Black Panther is a superhero, but he's not. He doesn't want to be a superhero. To me, he very much is like the Zorro of Latin and Hispanic culture. I grew up with Zorro a lot, and there is this idea that Zorro is more of a symbol. And for the Black Panther, he is more of a symbol, but in his own country, they are actively doing things. And they do have some interaction with the outside world. And it's very interesting to see how they kind of develop that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a how did this, like, it's not really an origin story either.
No.
They talk about the origins, but it's not an origin story.
Yeah, the origin's there and it kind of just pops in and out. But I think also to go back on what you said, it's like what was the legacy of what happened before, and how do we move from that maybe into something that would be better?
And improve from it,
Yep.
learn from it. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? What about tradition is important and what isn't? At what point does tradition become, unnecessary, convoluted? At one point, is it a detriment to what your future is? And that is it was very poignant. It was extremely well done too.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely well done.
Oh yeah, and the action scenes were superb. Very, very well choreographed and lots of fun. They're like, oh my god, with them in the cars, the chase scene. It was.
There's a chase scene and it's pretty wonderful. We've said before in Civil War, whenever the Black Panther was around and they had the car stuff, that it seemed a little bit like kids playing with action figures, and it was over the top. This time, there's a little bit more explained. So like any powers that he has, you kind of understand a little bit more, but also they just executed it better. The CGI looks better. The action sequences themselves look better. The technology looks better. His suit looks better. Everything looks fantastic and is shot in a way that is interesting and a lot easier to follow, I thought.
Also, there's going on with the fighting scenes. T'Challa does great. Chadwick Boseman, but also like in the Infinity War trailer at the end, when it's all really cool, Captain America's running with Hulk and all the people. And then there's that one soldier, the one Wakandan lady, that you don't really know anything about, and she kind of gets explained a lot in this movie. And she really comes out and does a great job in this movie, and really holds her own, and like she is seen. You see her as very important, and why she's very important, and why she's very strong, and why she should be in that front line with Captain America and all the Hulk and everybody who's running like into the fray and that big end of the trailer. Like, oh my gosh, she needs to be there.
She needs to be there. She holds her own. At no point in time, all of especially the women in this movie, I can't tell you how much it bothers me as a woman that is, according to government paperwork, considered a minority. As especially a kid growing up, I didn't see a lot of people like me. I didn't see a lot of mixed actors and actresses. They never played anyone mixed, even if they were mixed, because most people are. I didn't see a lot of Latin women who were portrayed in different ways. How many times have you seen a Latin woman scientist in a movie, especially from the 80s and 90s? You didn't see a lot of that. So for me, seeing a woman of color just in this powerful, majestic, wonderful, absolutely not supporting, upfront lead role was super important. And it is, I can't explain to you guys enough. If you are not a person of color, if you are not a minority, you may not feel this as much, but this movie is important. This movie is so important because it has so many Black people from so many different cultures, countries. I've heard people say that this movie isn't diverse. I don't know why they think that every Black person is just African American. Literally, these actors and actresses are from all over the world. it's important. And they do such a fantastic job of making sure you feel that they're important. The younger sister, so T'Challa's younger sister is just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. The princess does a great job. But more importantly, she's intelligent. Mm-hmm. She's young. She's a woman. She's black. And she is one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. And it's actually been proven canon, like talked about canon, that she is the smartest person in the world. And they don't shy away from that. In fact, whenever someone insults her for being young and intelligent, they defend her and talk about what a point of pride it is. And that is so important.
Well, I think the thing that really sets us apart is it's not just that people do cool stuff, but it's a character-driven movie. So, they do the cool stuff because it informs your information about the character.
Yes.
Like, this person does this because that tells you what kind of a person they are. And okay, what happens when these two people meet? Okay, then that tells you how this... It's all about kind of this duality or dichotomy of, what is your country, and how do you lead your country in the best way? Mm-hmm. Or are you leading your country? Are you loyal to your country and your traditions, or are you leading it to somewhere new? What's the correct path? Is there a metered way to do that, or is it just this way or that way?
There's a lot about loyalty in this movie in a very good way. Mm-hmm. And it's not loyal ties. It's loyalty, to your country, to yourself, to the right path, to the wrong path, whatever it may be. And they do talk about that a lot. Everyone did their part incredibly well. Mm-hmm. It is, in my opinion, the best acted Marvel movie to date. Like, just talking straight talent, straight acting chops, I believed every character.
Yeah. I'm not very good at telling acting, but I was very invested in the story the entire time, and I was very excited to see what was going to happen next, the whole time.
There was not a character that I didn't like.
I didn't like the villain, and he was really good because he was really good at making me not like him.
But
Michael B. Jordan did a great job.
He did a great job. So, but here's the thing. Here's what I will say. You didn't like the villain because he was the villain, yeah, but you understood why he was the villain. It wasn't really a sob story either. It wasn't because you have those kind of villains, I'm gonna say Spider-Man. I'm sorry, I rag on Spider-Man a lot, but you have Green Goblin, right? And it's because his daddy died.
It's Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin, because his daddy died, and his daddy was a Green Goblin. His daddy hated Spider-Man, and Spider-Man killed his daddy, and all of this stuff. I'm not going to talk about all the bad decisions that were made. No, it's not that. This guy's I am evil, evil, and it's not even that he's evil. It's just his ideology is flawed.
Yeah.
And this is why, and this is how I explain it, and this is my reconcile of it.
He has an ideological fallacy. I did it! I found out how to use fallacy correctly. Because all the information's there, he just puts it all together in bad ways, and so in ways that is not effective and that hurts people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
You did it. Fallacy.
I got a gold star.
You do. So the villain is very well fleshed out, and even the villain I did not dislike. I didn't like his ways and I didn't like his actions, but I didn't dislike him.
I didn't like him. He did a good job of making me not like him. So, kudos to Michael B. Jordan.
All right, who else, man?
That's all for me.
You're not going to say the last one, the cool costumes?
Oh, yeah.
It's on the list.
Okay, I forgot.
You forgot?
Yes, the costumes were very nice. It was also cool to see, how they use vibranium and all the stuff that they use. Mm-hmm. Because they talk about, it's in their clothes. I was like, how does that make any sense?
Why does that make any... And then it does.
And there's a cool scene where they use their clothes in cool ways. I didn't expect that.
I also want to give a shout out to Lupita. I love her as an actress. She's been in a lot of things that I didn't even realize it was her. speaking of Star Wars, we just found out that she was in Star Wars. She does such a great job of being 100% true to herself as the character. She is by far my I honestly, I think she's one of my favorite actresses now in general. Like, I keep falling more and more in love with her. But the part that she plays in this movie, the way that she holds steadfast to what she believes is important, that she is able to be stubborn and be angry, upset, go through the whole realm of emotions without being what people consider hysterical or disrespectful. I mean, and it's amazing. And last pro, the amount of shade that's thrown in this movie, oh, it is so good. It's so good. The looks, the under talking that they do to each other, the quips, the kind of like, it's just so good. It is, not only is it culturally appropriate, there are some reasons for why it's culturally appropriate. I'm not going to get into historical context because we're already going to be... Our fast and crappy review is probably not going to be that fast. It will be crappy, though. But it's just so completely wonderfully done. It's so completely wonderfully done. I am going to say this. I said this to a friend of mine. I promised her that I was going to repeat this on camera. I have been told by multiple people who are people of color, who fall on some sort of minority spectrum, that this is a movie that they needed, that their community, that their kids, they wanted their kids to see it, they wanted to have representation. I am not a person of color. I technically fall in the minority spectrum, but that's not something, it's something I deal with, but not, come on guys, it's not something I deal with on a daily. I needed to see this movie. It's important. It's important. It's so important. And if you see this movie and it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, good. That means that you needed to see this. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying that apparently you need to have a little bit of Jesus talk time so you can get your heart straightened, because this movie is that important. You may not ultimately relate to it, but the things that it talks about and the goal of what it's trying to tell you is so beyond the realm of a Marvel movie that I can't say that it's important enough. I cannot say it's important enough. I think it's that big of a deal. People will probably think I'm crazy, but it's that big of a deal. All right, are you ready? I'm so sorry, guys. Are you ready for cons?
I'm ready.
I'm not sorry.
I wrote some down because Sophia said
cons.
I can't think of any cons.
I couldn't really think of any.
So we're flip-flopped here, like Civil War review. I came up with a few because we had to have something in the cons, you know? We gotta have cons.
Sure.
We just gotta have cons.
That's true. So go ahead with your cons.
Alright, so my first con was there's not quite enough distinction between the hero and the villain in this movie. That's just... I could just be dumb. I don't know. I'm coming out of this late, and it's my first time seeing it. But sometimes, like, the villain got a lot of, like, time to say, like, what he thought. But I feel like the hero didn't get his time to say, like, well, I mean, this is why that doesn't work. Like, he didn't get his time to say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but nah, dog.
I will say that if you were not introduced to the Black Panther in Civil War, if you just for some reason skipped Civil War, I don't know why you did that. If you did, there are key elements about his character that you're gonna miss in this. So I do think that this is an amazing standalone film, but that's true. There are some things that if you didn't see Civil War, I could see where the hero isn't extremely distinguishable from the villain.
Well, I like in movies where the hero has, like, you know, the villain has his monologue, right? But then the hero has something to say. There's, like, he has a nugget of truth that he says to the villain. That doesn't happen. There's a great nugget of truth at the end of the movie that he just lays out, and it's like, y'all, dog, here it is. Here's what the truth is, and it's very poignant. And he's less saying it to the villain, but he's more just, like, saying it to everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
but there's
not everyone in the movie, like, to you,
the audience,
who's watching the movie. He's saying it to
you as society.
Yes, he's not saying it to the people he's talking to. He's talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there's not that moment with the villain.
No, which I like that in movies. There's a weird CGI fight. And I was like, I don't like this. It didn't last very long, but that was the one part I was like, we can move on from that part.
I didn't think the CGI was that bad. It didn't put me off that much. Compared to some of the weird CGI that we saw recently.
But I was just like, I don't want to see
That's true.
the CGI fight. Okay, I'm not
That's
interested.
true.
Can we go back to the lady with the spear? I'd want to see more of
Yes, more spear fights. What else do you have
And
on
the
this
last thing I
list?
have here, I wrote it down. Okay, the villain. I didn't like him, but he's kind of that weird guy. So here's what about bad guy, like that friend who just says weird stuff, that's pseudo-psychological stuff, and then everyone ignores them because they don't have the hours it would take to explain everything. Now, he does say some things that are very true and very poignant. It's like, okay, yeah, that's some stuff. But then he also says some stuff, and it's like, we don't have the time to explain to you why that's wrong.
Yeah.
And then the hero decides he doesn't either. And
I understand too. I know this stinks. Tony's keeping it purposely vague because he can't tell you what, because it's spoiler free.
Yeah.
So we can't tell you like what exactly. But whenever you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh, that's. I mean,
that's
okay.
the logical fallacy I'm talking about. Like that.
Yeah.
When you know that friend who just like he just says some things or she just says some things, you're just like, we're just gonna ignore that.
Yeah, we're gonna walk right past that pseudo psychology or that pseudoscience that you can't always give it the effort that it takes to explain. So I see that point. I didn't care.
Oh. Again, it's not all the time either. It's just like once or twice or three times. But I'm just like, that doesn't really work. I don't think you're really.
You didn't think?
And I guess it kind of rubbed me the wrong way too, because I have that friend. I'm just like,
yes, we do. We do have that friend. So, all right, this is the fast questions, and I'm gonna pull them from memory.
Okay.
Okay. Origin story, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if it's like page by page accurate from the comic books. In fact, if anything, I would say that this is much significantly briefer than anything in the comic books for Black Panther's backstory.
I think it's actually very close.
But from what I can recall, it's very close. And I did recently start reading Black Panther again because I was so excited about this movie. So everything that I can tell, it's close. Let me put it this way: if the only Black Panther origin story you know is from the 90s Marvel cartoon with Fantastic Four, then no, that was trash. This is the actual origin story. Love story, yes or no?
You just say what you want to say.
Yes! This is the
one.
first time! This is the first time that they put love in a superhero movie, and it worked. It worked so well, and I think it's partially because it wasn't a traditional superhero movie. I was so happy. I was actually excited for the main characters and that they got to smooch. I was so happy. I was so happy at how they handled it. It is the first time ever in a superhero movie, even the Marvel Universe, that I think the love was done 100% well.
I think there might be two love stories in there. And I'm going.
Wait, no, you
I like
can't,
the second one. I can't say what it is.
You can't say what it is.
But I like the second one more.
Yeah. The post credit.
Yes.
Music and sound, yes or no?
Yes. Definitely, yes.
I am going to be buying the album. The music is just fantastic. Again, the blending of culture and storytelling and goals is just fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Kendrick Lamar does all the original songs for it, and it is, I mean, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I think that's what else do I ever do? We're doing bad. We'll just skip to the end. Do the pros outweigh the cons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough to see in theaters?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Enough to see twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we might go see it again literally tomorrow. In this scale, for me personally, of Marvel movies, the MCU, this is my favorite movie. It has a social commentary that I feel that comics tend to have, that movies tend not to in this respect, but it does. It definitely has that social commentary. Again, a friend that I was speaking to, one of the things I talked about is that I feel like the nerd community, whenever it comes to embracing of diversity and change, I think that if you are the type of nerd who can literally name every issue of Superman, you probably felt some sort of ostracized in your life. You probably felt out of place. You probably felt like you didn't belong. And especially in the nerd community, you see a lot of embracing of that. You see the first African-American woman on television that wasn't, a maid of some sort with Star Trek. And that was also the first interracial kiss on TV. And that's a huge nerd community. You see here where this is a major Hollywood blockbuster where 99% of the cast is black, from all over the world. And it's a celebration of that culture without anyone being a maid. It's not about history. It's not about slavery. It's not a retelling of a story. It is something completely original and new, and it doesn't necessarily follow. And you can read about this. Something that bothers me that we still use a lot in media, in storytelling, in television and movies is the magical Negro, the magical black friend, the magical black sidekick. That's not a great thing. It's not okay. And this movie doesn't do that. It just doesn't. It elevates to such a higher standard.
I think it also doesn't even, at least my understanding of the Black Panther comics, doesn't really follow the arc of the Black Panther comics. Because Black Panther is, at least when I started reading it, like in the 2000s, Wakanda was still very closed off. They really didn't care much about anything. Black Panther would come out and fight some people when, it was cool for the comics for him to do that. But it kind of goes in a different way than what any other comics have done.
It's coming into its own in a different way, and in a way that is much more relative, I think, to today and today's society. There wasn't, as far as like the scale even of like things that were slightly questionable for like kids to watch, I actually thought this was an extremely kid-friendly Marvel movie. Because there is a lot of sort of political talk, and there's definitely
kids don't care about
they don't care about that. They don't. But even if you took all the politics away, even if you took all the nuance away, and here I am of the belief that we don't deserve nuance anymore. We have gone so far astray in TV and media that we don't deserve nuance. We need to go back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air days where we just said stuff. We need to go back to Full House where the moral was set at the end, because clearly we're missing some stuff, guys. Like, regardless of, and this is not, understand that we're not trying to be political. We don't have a particular stance on anything that you think we probably have a particular stance on. But there was something to be said for the 80s and that absolution of finishing something and here's the moral, and you can't dirty it. You can't, at the facts of life, don't cheat on a test was the moral of it. That's all there was. And we started getting more and more nuance. We kind of deserve that, and we don't anymore because we clearly done wrong. So this has enough nuance for adults, enough for everyone else who doesn't want to listen, or if you're a kid, and enough relatable material that it's a little bit inspiring. And that's I don't normally feel inspired by Marvel movies, and I left the theater really, really on fire.
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, very inspired. And if you look at me,
that's your inspired face?
No, I'm very white. I mean, what I'm saying is, it's not a for black people movie.
No, it's not. Everyone needs to see it. Everyone needs to see it.
It's a humanist movie.
It is. It is a humanist movie. Absolutely. It falls perfectly well into the Marvel universe too. Even with it being so different and unique, it falls absolutely wonderfully, beautifully well into the Marvel universe.
I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
How it falls into the Marvel universe. Because it's more laser beams and stuff.
It is, yes, it is. The technology is amazing. Alright guys, that is it for us.
The fastest and the crappiest of reviews.
I don't think it's the fastest, but it's definitely probably one of the crappiest.
Sorry, Black Panther. You deserve better than this.
Black Panther is absolutely amazing. I cannot suggest that you go see it enough. At some point, I'm supposed to say like, comment, subscribe.
We'll edit it into the beginning.
Into the beginning? I don't edit anything anymore now. It takes too much time. We're just two nerds with a camera, and this is as good as it's gonna get. In fact, I want to reverse your expectations. Not only is this as good as it's gonna get, I don't think it's going to get
better.
Not better, but like it's going to probably get worse. I think my goal is not to make them faster but crappier, and let's just see how that works for, what do you think, for viewers, subscriptions. But anyways, please subscribe and all those things. I would like you to like it. I would love for you to comment. I don't know when the next video we're doing is. There's a lot of stuff coming out, so I imagine we'll be doing a lot more of these very, very soon. One of the movies that we do want to see rather desperately, just because it looks like total garbage. Rampage. Looks like trash, but I love anything that's based off of video games because it's probably trash.
We should just start doing YouTube lives.
This
is so long.